all for being here. Happy Valentine's Day, everybody. Happy President's Day weekend, too.
Yeah, that's it.
Ooh, two holidays converging at once. Valentine's Day has always been a special holiday and a special celebration for me because I'm a lover, not a fighter. And I love a holiday that's devoted to love. It's great. When I was thinking about, forgot my hand. When I was thinking about today's sermon, today's lecture, today's talk, today's teaching, whatever you would like to call it, I kept getting that tune from Tina Turner in my mind, which is What's Love Got to Do with It? So I looked it up. Tina Turner actually sang that in 1984. That's 32 years ago. It's a long time. And I looked at the video. It was her in her career when she had the big hair, the big hair, the blonde, big blonde wig that she was wearing. And she's got a great video singing What's Love Got to Do with It? And she won a Grammy that year. That was the best song of the year, 1984, What's Love Got to Do with It? 9 years later, they made a movie with Angela Bassett based on Tina Turner's life, also called What's Love Got to Do with It? And if you look at the lyrics of the song, I think it says something interesting. It really talks about how our ego does things, but it also reminds us of the Holy Spirit in back of the ego and also in our minds. So she says, "You must understand, though the touch of your hand makes my pulse react, that it's only the thrill of boy meeting girl. Opposites attract." I do want to mention that's a very heterosexist, discriminating Don't think I endorse that necessarily. It was a Tina Turner song. And then she goes, "It's physical, only logical." She doesn't want it to mean more than that. "You must try to ignore that it means more than that." So you must try to ignore that it means more than that. So there must be some message that's coming maybe from the man, maybe in her mind from the Holy Spirit, that maybe this is more, maybe this is love, maybe there's love in back of it, maybe there's love behind it. And then she says, almost in response to that unspoken thing that must be going on somewhere, what's love got to do with it? She doesn't want it to have anything to do with love. What's love got to do with it? It's but a second-hand emotion. And then later on she says, what's love got to do with it? What's love but a sweet old-fashioned notion? So she's trying to ignore that there's something within her that is loving, that wants to go to love, but she's afraid of it. And she wants to just make it this physical thing. That she can handle, maybe not. But she's trying to make it a physical thing. She's trying to ignore the love that is underneath it. And you get the impression from the song that eventually she succumbs to the love. Course in Miracles says the confusion of miracle impulses or love impulses with physical impulses, or maybe what feels like a sexual impulse, is a major source of perceptual distortion because it induces, rather than straightens out, the basic level confusion. Inappropriate physical impulses, or misdirected miracle impulses, result in conscious guilt if expressed and depression if denied. All real pleasure comes from doing God's will. I like that it doesn't really give us much option there. If we feel these physical impulses, they are misdirected love impulses, and I guess we only have two choices. One is to express them, and the other is to ignore them. If we express them, we'll feel guilty. If we ignore them, we'll feel depressed. I'll go for guilt. I think I can handle guilt. I can rise above the guilt. I don't want to be depressed. In another place, the Tina Turner song says, "It may seem to you that I'm acting confused." Well, if I had to choose between guilt and depression, I guess I'd be confused too. "When you're close to me, if I tend to look dazed, I've read it someplace, I've got cause to be." Maybe she read it in A Course in Miracles. That was 1984, A Course in Miracles was out. But A Course in Miracles talks about these impulses, these physical impulses that we see, and how they hide love, or they come from love underneath, but we're distorting them. So if we express them, we're going to feel the guilt, have to get through the guilt. But if we deny them, we're just going to be depressed. And for me, that's certainly much worse. But what's obvious here is the confusion that we have about these things, and it's obvious in the Tina Turner song, that she's dealing with that confusion, and she's trying to protect herself from getting hurt. And I love A Course in Miracles because you can get a spiritual perspective on just about anything from A Course in Miracles, even a Tina Turner song. And I love it. So I think we all have to deal with these physical impulses, but of course they're not just a sexual impulse. They're any physical impulse that we have. We see someone who appears to be in lack, and then we have the physical impulse of wanting to help them in some way or supply that lack that they seem to have. Any form of charity that we may feel is us trying to respond to this perceived lack. So there's a love thing that's underneath. We don't know quite how to deal with it, but the expression of that in form feels like giving to the one who is in need, or charity. A Course in Miracles says most of the loftier concepts of which man is capable now are time-dependent. Charity is really a weaker reflection of a much more powerful love encompassment, which is far beyond any form of charity that man can conceive of as yet. So there really is that same idea, that when we feel like we can be charitable in whatever way we feel like we could be, what is really going on is a feeling of love, this love encompassment. It's a feeling that that person is me. And I just want to embrace the me, and I want to see it as all of me. And we have trouble figuring out how will we do that in form. I will give them something. I will help to supply that lack that they appear to have. And that's just this weaker reflection of this love encompassment that is underneath. It's probably the best we can do. And if we do those things, there will be some guilt involved. That's an interesting idea, because the guilt is involved because I'm somehow seeing this person as different than me. I'm somehow seeing this person as need. I'm going to supply that need. That must mean in some way I think I have something that they don't. It's not really the truth. There will be that confusion spin in the mind, but it's probably the best we can do. And we're Course in Miracles students. We can let go of that guilt and just be guided to do what we feel guided to do. And we will always be guided to find some expression of love that is appropriate for us and that helps the other person and that helps the universe, because we're here to express love. It's what we're here to do. And Valentine's Day is a great way just to dial up the love in our life in whatever way we can be guided to do it. Just like crank it up a little bit. Think about that as you go through the day. How could you crank up the expression of love in your life today? Because today is an incredible window of opportunity that the world gives to us to be loving. Just about anybody you say, I love you today, will take it in and probably embrace that idea and not give you flack about it, thinking, what do you mean? They'll just take it in. It's Valentine's Day. It's great. Now, some people think that Valentine's Day is actually a manufactured holiday, manufactured by the flower companies and the chocolate candy companies, and certainly by the greeting card companies. But actually, Valentine's Day is one of the more spiritual and religious holidays that we have, but we forget about its origins. It actually originates from Saint Valentinus, who was a Roman Catholic priest. And this priest was killed by the Romans in the year 496. And the reason why he was jailed and then martyred by the Romans was because he believed in love. And he would marry Roman soldiers to their beloveds, even though the Roman law prohibited its soldiers from marrying. So he went against the Roman law, and he would marry these soldiers so that they could be one with their beloved, and that, of course, was a no-no. And he was also arrested because he was ministering to his congregation, to his flock, who were Catholics and Christians, and being Christians at that time was not a good thing. So they jailed him and martyred him, killed him for those two reasons. But he was in jail for a while, and while he was in jail, the daughter of the person, the judge who sentenced him to jail, would come and visit him, and the daughter was blind. And through a miracle, he healed the blind daughter. He healed the blind girl. The blind girl could see. And that actually was a big deal. And the legend is, or the story is, it made a conversion of the man who actually had jailed him. The man who jailed him then became a Christian because he was moved by the miracle of his blind daughter now being able to see. However, that didn't stop them from executing St. Valentine. And I've also been told in one source that they then executed the jailer, or the judge, too. I don't know if that's true. You don't know if any of this is true, but these are the stories. And before he was executed, though, he maintained this relationship with the daughter and the blind girl that he had healed. And they would write letters to each other. And in the very last letter he wrote to her, he signed it, "Your Valentine." And that's actually where we get the tradition of sending valentines, because they're little expressions of love that a Roman priest said to the person, the young girl that he had healed of blindness, on the day before he knew he was being executed. So the tradition of St. Valentine's Day carried on here and there, but it actually got a big boost by the English author Chaucer. And Chaucer wrote about Valentine's Day and about love, and would refer to Valentine's Day. Chaucer was actually born in 1343. He's considered the father of English literature. He was a poet and a writer. And he wrote in Middle English. He didn't write in the English form of today. You can still sort of read it. It's a little difficult, but he wrote in Middle English. And he was the first prominent author to actually write in any form of English, because before that time, authors generally wrote either in French or Latin. So he actually made the English language into an acceptable language for scholarly people or creative people to write in. And he wrote about Valentine's Day, and the tradition of presenting flowers and offering candy and writing notes arose out of Chaucer's popularizing the story of St. Valentine and his martyrdom. So that's where it came from. It didn't actually come from the card companies and the flower companies and the candy companies. It was actually originated in 1382 when Chaucer wrote about it. So we can love Chaucer, and we can love Valentine's Day, and we can love St. Valentine. I do want to present a little homage here to somebody else that I want to express some love for. And I'm doing this publicly. I know this is on YouTube. I want to express love for a person who I believe is a great course scholar. I actually believe he's probably the greatest course scholar who's alive today. And people in miracle circles, some of the teachers, we all know who this person is. But he's not really out there in the mainstream. And it's Doug Thompson. I want to express my love and appreciation for Doug Thompson. He was the one who created that Urtext manuscript that we have and all the appendices and indices that is in it. I mean, he studied that thing, and the way he referenced it, it's just awesome. If you haven't looked at the Urtext, the published version, and everything that he wrote about it, and he continues to write all kinds of scholarly things about the course because he compares all the versions of the course all the time. And he's also now working on bringing the notes to publication. But he's been looking at Helen Schuckman's shorthand notes for now probably decades, and he's been able to decipher them, and you can get them on the internet, and you can read them. And they're as different from the published version of the course, even that I embrace the original edition, as sometimes the original edition is from the FIP edition. And there's some interesting things in the notes that I do want to talk about. So, Doug, I love you. Thank you so much for all the scholarly work that you did, that you still are doing, and I can't wait till you actually publish the notes in book form so I don't have to read them in a strange PDF. An interesting thing about the notes is we all think A Course in Miracles starts with that little introduction. It doesn't. The notes actually start different. The notes start with a statement that Reverend Peter read. They start with the statement, "You will see miracles through your hands, through me." That's actually the first line that Jesus dictated to Helen Schuckman. "You will see miracles through your hands, through me." And then a little later on, it says, "They," meaning miracles, "occur naturally as expressions of love." That's what I was looking up, the love, because this is the day of love. The real miracle is the love that inspires them. All that love within us all that inspires us to do whatever we are guided to do, as distorted and as inappropriate maybe as it is, that love, that's the miracle. In a sense, everything that comes from love is a miracle. Anything that comes from us and that connection with love, even if it's a slightly inappropriate expression because we perceive the other to be an other when in truth they're really just us, but any expression of love is a miracle. So we sometimes think about how would we define a miracle, and people like to say, well, a miracle is a shift in perception. You know, that's not really in A Course in Miracles. That's just something we have become accustomed to saying. The actual expression, shift in perception, only occurs a couple of times. There's a little mention of it in the teacher's manual. But to say that A Course in Miracles defines miracle as a shift in perception really is not accurate. It's not accurate. Miracles are expressions of love. Yes. Miracles are expressions of love. Coming through us, coming through our hands, through our connection with Jesus, expressions of love. That's what a miracle is. This is a day for love. This is a day for miracles. We can express love to everyone today, and it can all be a miracle because it's coming from the love that is inside of us. And I love Valentine's Day too. If you think about the tradition of where it comes from a minister who was willing to go to whatever length to minister to people who needed and to minister to his congregation, the Christians, that were getting persecuted, and didn't allow the fact that it might cause his death to stop him from really confronting the Roman tradition and the Roman law. He just kept ministering to the soldiers who wanted to marry and to his congregation who wanted to hear what he had to say about Jesus, about the Christ, and about love. And he died because of it. He was willing to die because of that. And maybe I just identify with a minister who will go to great lengths. I don't know if I'm willing to die for all of you. But I was willing to get up at 6 o'clock this morning to write the sermon, and maybe that's the same thing. Community Miracle Center is a center of love. If anybody who comes here feels the love, and it's great. I want to talk a little bit about something I have never talked about before. Can it be possible that there's something in all these years that I've never talked about before? But there is something I've never talked about before. In fact, I don't think I ever mentioned it to anybody until I talked to Reverend Kelly about it a couple of weeks ago. And what I want to talk about is the CMC logo. The CMC logo gets flack every once in a while because people think whatever they think, but they think maybe we would have a better logo. And what they don't know is what the story is behind the logo, because I never told anybody, because I never thought it was appropriate or just even needed, and I figured people would just react to the logo and accept it, and people want to change the logo. Sometimes people do the logo and they eliminate the lines and they just use the heart and the letters. But the lines are an important part of the logo. I did the original sketch of the logo. I gave it to an artist. The artist actually created the logo in an artistic way with a little more flourish and style than I had created it. And then about 10 or 12 years ago, we turned what we had over to a professional logo artist company, and they did the three-dimensional now effect that's on the logo, and they stylized it a bit more. But this is the CMC logo, and what it's supposed to inspire you to think is that CMC is the love that exists in the little gap. And that's what I guess people, I just wanted it to be a visual representation of that. But that's why the lines are important. It's earth and heaven, the little gap. CMC is the love that fills the gap. That's why the logo, the way it is important to me. And I think actually our logo, because we put it so prominently everywhere, is incredibly branded in the psyche of the A Course in Miracles community. They see this, they know it means CMC. They know it means Community Miracle Center. I don't know of any other logo out there from any A Course in Miracles organization that is as identifiable and brings to mind the organization that it represents. So I love our logo. It's the logo of love. Love, CMC, fills the gap. That's what the logo means. You heard it here. I've never talked about it before. What's love got to do with it? the Tina Turner song. She goes, "I've been taking a new direction, but I have to say, I've been thinking about my own protection. It scares me to feel this way. It scares us all sometimes to actually just feel the love, and we defend ourselves against it." That's what the ego does. We defend ourselves against it. And I can understand, because as the Course says, if we express it, we feel guilty. If we deny it, we feel depression. It's a little confusing. How do I express the love? And I think we just trust. And we just also trust what A Course in Miracles tells us about expressing love. It says the love of God, for a little while, must still be expressed through one body to another. So even though it's not the highest expression of love, it's what we got. We express love from one body to another in so many ways: a smile, a handshake, a hug, giving something to someone who may seem to be in lack, physical intimacy, if that is in our lives, just blessing and thinking of how much we love our brothers and sisters. So what's love got to do with it? Love has got everything to do with it. Love is the source of our existence. Love is the source of our being. Love has got everything to do with it. Happy Valentine's Day. That's right.